And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and spoiler season is upon us. Outlaws of Thunder Junction starting to come out, and I will just say, aesthetically speaking, so, you know, the feel of the set, obviously it's a Western themed set. I won't be touching on that at all. It sort of is the norm now, right? Like, especially with the Universes Beyond stuff, you're just going to get, I mean, some people might be a fan of it, some people might not. Pretty much since, I would say Nuka Penna, pretty much since Nuka Penna, it's been pretty regular where either we have a Universes Beyond set that, you know, some people, again, maybe some are for it, maybe some aren't. Or we'll have a set where aesthetically it doesn't maybe fit. Like even the last set, Murders of Karlov Manor, the aesthetics there, some people might not have loved. That being said, I'm not going to touch on that. I have heard some criticism that, you know, there is a lot of familiar characters. And in fact, all the commanders I will be talking about in this video are all familiar characters. And I've heard some criticisms that they're just taking these familiar characters and putting a cowboy hat on them. Whatever. I'm not going to touch on any of that. I'm just going to be talking about, as I usually do, the legendary creatures and how they are as commanders. So let's take a look. We got a new Gitrog, the Gitrog Ravenous Ride. Is this going to be as popular as the original? I doubt it. We'll see. 3 black and a green, same casting cost. Trample and Haste. 6/5. Usually you're not seeing haste on black-green creatures. That's definitely rare. As I say all the time, whenever you see trample, haste, stuff like that, menace on a legendary creature, it guarantees has an attack trigger or a deal damage trigger. So whenever they get Ravenous Ride, what a weird name, Ravenous Ride? It sounds like like an amusement park ride. Deals combat damage to a player. So yeah, you may sacrifice a creature that saddled it this turn. If you do, draw X cards, then put up to X land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Tapped, where X is the sacrifice creature's power, and saddle 1. I'm used to now, okay, you know, everyone likes to say reading the card explains the card. I am now used to the fact that Wizards of the Coast doesn't do that anymore. They don't have the card explanation, the reminder text there, which I think they absolutely should on new cards. I have come prepared, though. I had a very astute patron on the Discord actually give a brief description of what all the new abilities are going to do. And so I have a pretty good idea anyway. I might not get it exactly right, but I've had some criticism in the past. You know, I do this on the fly. I've had some criticisms in the past of not being able to figure out what the abilities do right out of the gate, but that's what's going to happen with everyone, right? That's the whole idea of why I do this the way I do it. I actually did a little bit of research, so now I know it is essentially like crew. Basically, saddling is crewing, but with instead of vehicles, you're doing it on a creature. Now, of course, the crewing turns it into a creature, where here it's already a creature, so obviously that part isn't the same. Obviously, the saddle only matters with the ability. I mean, clearly you can just attack with your Gitrog, and when it deals combat damage, you may sacrifice a creature to the saddle. Well, if no creature saddled it, then you don't have to do nothing, right? I mean, this is the part I'm not sure about. Is saddling like crewing, where I can throw 50 creatures? Can I pile 50 creatures on top of my Gitrog? And he's got to carry them all? I don't know. Can you only saddle one creature? That I'm not sure about. But just to give a general, you know, so we have an understanding of what's going on here, saddle is essentially crewing. So I'm going to tap a creature. And obviously I want it to be a big creature. It can be a 1/1, right? Saddle 1 means 1 power, right? So if I do, though, I'm going to draw 1 card and put 1 land from my hand onto the battlefield. I mean, that's not bad. But obviously I want to do like maybe a 4/4 or something. Now I get to draw 4 cards and put 4 lands from my hand onto the battlefield tapped. Is this better than the other Gitrog? I would say no. It is really good. I would say the haste was completely unnecessary here, but we all know why that is, right? They want people to be able to use their commander right away without it, you know, before it actually gets removed. It is definitely like if I get my commander down 5 mana, attack with it right away, I already have, again, let's say a 4/4 creature in play. I can immediately sacrifice that creature to draw 4 cards and maybe put a land or 2 in play. That's pretty good. All around, it is just a different version of the original Gitrog. I'm just drawing cards and doing a lands theme, so not super exciting. The only interesting build around part here that I would say is that your commander is allowing you to put a lot of lands into play. So a mechanics that have you pick up your lands, like obviously bounce lands. I wouldn't typically put a bounce land in a green deck. I don't think it's needed, but here it actually works because your commander is allowing you to constantly be putting lots of lands into play. I also, like the sweep mechanic. I'm trying to think, what are some mechanics that have you picking up lands, something like that. That would be the only thing where this is, I would say, different than the original Gitrog. The biggest difference I would say is that, I mean, obviously you're sacrificing creatures, sure, but nothing new there in Golgari colors, right? Here, I think the big difference as far as build around goes is I have the ability to put a whole, like I can sack a 7/7 creature. I don't know if you would do that, but I can sack like a 6/6 creature or a 5/5 creature and just put a whole bunch of lands into play. And so that is the part that's the big advantage there over maybe the different Gitrog or other black-green commanders. Let's take a look at the new Magda. So Magda, the Horde Master. 1 in a red, Dwarf Berserker. 2/2. Whenever you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. I was kind of hoping we would at some point have a set where there's no treasures. They're just doing it every set now, right? Like treasures are like trample and flying now. Every set has them. When's the last, like I said I did my 5 mechanics that I think they've gone too far with. Clearly they're not slowing down on treasures. Yes, I realize Magda originally was doing treasures, so it suits her. But, I'm just thinking, are we ever going to have a Magic set that doesn't have treasure mechanic in it? I don't know, maybe not. I will say though, I talked about how the gold mechanic originally, like whatever you want, gold token, it is essentially mechanic. That was the original way of doing it, and then they switched it to treasure. They're slightly different. I would have actually liked them. I think gold makes more sense. Treasures, like treasure is a pirate themed thing, right? That's where it first came from Ixalan. Gold makes more sense. Gold Rush, that kind of thing, right? The gold tokens make more sense. I would have loved to see them switch for this set because it makes more sense in a Western theme. That's just me. So, commit a crime. What that means, obviously, a new mechanic. It says here, thankfully, targeting opponents or anything they control and or cards in their graveyards is a crime. So, basically, any targeting. If you're targeting an opponent or anything they control or any cards in their graveyard, not in their hand though, means that you are committing a crime. So whenever you commit, so that means you want to be doing that. So whenever you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. So if I lightning bolt my opponent's creature, I get a tapped treasure token. That's pretty good. And then on the following turn, I abrade my opponent's artifact. I get a treasure token. That's how you're going to want to play this deck likely, right? This is likely going to be a mono red spell slinger theme. I haven't gotten to the other ability, but that's what I'm thinking. Right out of the gate, because that triggers only once each turn. Of course, as I say all the time with my Danik deck, you just do it. You build the deck so that you're doing it on everyone's turn, right? Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm thinking spell slinger theme, maybe, but maybe you want actually. So if you look at a Horobi Death's Wail deck, those Horobi decks find all these really inventive ways to target other people's stuff. Like Cauldron of Souls is one that's an auto include in a Horobi deck because it allows you to target any number of creatures. So actually that might be, you might be putting the Cauldron of Souls in here. And on top of that, it actually works on your creatures without destroying them. In the Horobi deck, you only use it for destroying creatures. Here, you can actually use it on yourself, and you can use it to trigger. So maybe that's the way you want to go here. So you could do a Spellslinger theme for sure, but also you can do like any of the, like Expedite. Is Expedite target creature, or is it creature you control? Like anything that is just the cantrippy, I just target a creature. I'll give my opponent's creature haste, draw a card, get the treasure token, right? You can do a lot of that stuff. But also you can do the Cauldron of Souls. I just find like a weird land that targets my opponent's creature, even if the effect is, like, what's the Tower of the Magistrate, right? Target creature gains protection from artifacts. That would be a great land to throw in this deck, right? You just target your opponent's creature, you get the trigger off your commander, right? Anyway, sacrifice 3 treasures, very similar to the original Magna, of course. Create a 4/4 red Scorpion Dragon creature token with flying and haste. Activate only as a sorcery. Scorpion is definitely a underrated, underplayed. How many scorpions do we have in the game of Magic? Not a lot. So it's a Scorpion Dragon because that has to be Western themed, right? So very similar. you're creating treasure tokens. You're just doing it in a different way, and you are sacrificing the only three though. That's not hard. Wow. Activate only is a sorcery, which means you can only do it on your turn, but they have haste, so that doesn't change a whole lot. Wow, this is powerful. I think it's very easy to commit a crime. And I guess going forward now, if we see any more committing crime triggers, we'll know that it's actually not that hard to do, right? Again, just having lands that can target creatures and target stuff is going to make it very easy to commit a crime. I'm not sure how hard they thought it would be to trigger that ability. I think it's not very hard at all. I think it's really easy to do in the commander format anyway. And only 3 treasures? Man. So on my turn, if I got 9 treasures, sacrifice them all, and I get 3 4/4 dragons with flying and haste. This is pretty powerful. This might be better than the original Magda. I think it might be. Moving on, Kellen the Kid. So we have a new Kellen, and again, this is, I'm not sure what the deal is with Kellen, but like every set now, we're getting a new Kellen. Is he like planes jumping or something? I don't know. I'm not sure what the lore is there, but we had a Kellen in, I think Wilds of Eldraine was the first one, and then we had one in Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and then we had one in Murders of Karlov Manor, and now we got a Bant version. They're all different colors. The first 3 were all adventures, though. This one's not. Blue, green, and a white human fairy rogue, flying lifelink 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. Ooh boy. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand under the, because that wasn't good enough, right? We also have, well, if you got nothing good to cast, you could put a land into play. I was going to say, because the original 3 Kellens were all adventures, and these are, I would say, the adventure colors, the Banter, probably the adventure colors. We already have a commander that is an adventure commander in Bant. I mean, good adventure colors for sure. Maybe they're going to make it so that this is an adventure commander. And of course, it can be, because adventures are cast from anywhere other than your hand. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand thing is... This is going to be a popular commander. I imagine it's going to be, because it is. I mean, there's a couple things going on here. I'll just throw out. I mean, I already threw out the adventure thing. I'll throw out the suspend thing as well. Suspend is casting stuff from anywhere other than your hand. There's a ton of support now, both with the casting stuff from exile and casting from anywhere other than your hand. Obviously, you cast stuff from your graveyard. There's lots of ways. Yeah, so it's almost like Cascade. Oh boy, how does Cascade work here? Oh, maybe this is a great Cascade commander. So I cast something with Cascade. The Cascade is casting from exile, and then I get another thing from my hand. Wow, you can get into some really bonkers situations here. I mean, the casting cost is going to make it so that you have to make sure you have the appropriate things in your hand, right? Yeah, although I don't think that's difficult to do, right? Obviously, you'll build your deck that way. Man, this is, yeah, maybe Cascade is the best way to go here, because I can get a 3-for-1 because I cast something with Cascade. The cascaded spell is from exile, which triggers my commander, which lets me cast something from my hand. At least it's only permanence. Obviously, they put that on there so you wouldn't completely get out of hand. Oh boy, this could be a popular one. All right, we got a new Gissa. Gissa the Hellraiser, 3 black, human warlock, 4/4, ward 2, and pay 2 life. So again, they're not shying away from the ward. People are already getting a little tired of the ward. Funny enough, again, in my mechanics they went too far with, I talked about hexproof, and now hexproof is just a really busted ability that they just started throwing on creatures all over the place. And then they realized it was too powerful, so they switched to ward. I imagine we're not going to be seeing hexproof very much anymore. I mean, when's the last time you've seen a card with hexproof on it, right? It's rare. Ward you're seeing all the time, but now it's like they're going too far with ward. They're just putting it on everything. Like, relax with the ward, guys. Skeletons and zombies you control get +1/+1 and have menace. So, do we already have a skeleton commander? Yeah, maybe we do. Do we? So, skeletons and zombies, you can do skeleton and zombie tribal here. Obviously, a lot of people will be doing that. Whenever you commit a crime, create 2 tapped 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature tokens. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, so I like the fact that this is skeletons and zombies is okay. I mean, it is Gissa. You got to do zombies, I guess. It would have been nice to just see skeletons and nothing else, because you're going to put almost no skeletons in this deck. Zombie Tribal is just way too powerful to shoehorn any skeletons into this deck, I would imagine. That's just my thinking. So I imagine most people building this deck, again, you don't even have to put any in here because, of course, your commander, this is a situation where, I call this the Gerelf effect, funny enough, with the mono blue Gerelf, where you have the Anthem effect first, and then the ability that you're actually building around, right? Gerelf is not that mono blue Gerelf is not a zombie tribal deck. You're building around that last ability, and here as well. Just giving your skeletons and zombies +1/+1 and menace is like, that's okay. Okay. Like there's better, there's way, like a will health or something, way better payoff for a zombie tribal deck than that. So you're not going to be just building a zombie tribal deck here, right? That ability is the payoff to the last ability, which is whenever you commit a crime, you get to create two of those things. And again, we're in the same situation as the Magda here, where it triggers only once each turn. But if I can create two zombies on every single player's turn, that's fantastic. And as we already established, I don't think that's that hard to do, right? Cauldron of Souls and Tower of the Magistrate and, anything like that. Just I do some stuff on my turn. Of course, on your turn will be the easiest. And then on my opponent's turn, do something there, create two more. By the time I get round to my next turn, I already have a army of zombies, and they all have +1/+1 in menace. So yeah, again, it's kind of cute that they threw the skeletons on there, but you're not going to do none of that. Not only is your commander creating the zombies, but also, what skeleton are you going to want to throw in here? Yeah, you're just going to want to do the zombie tribal here, and you're mostly going to want to concentrate on being able to trigger that ability every turn, because things can get out of hand pretty quick. All right, lastly today, the new Rakdos. Rakdos the Muscle. So, the names are a little goofy here, I'll just say. So 2 black, and a red demon mercenary. How many Rakdoses have we gotten? 3 already? Is this the 4th? I think so. 6/5 flying trample. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library. Until end of the next end step, you may play those cards, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Very Rakdosian ability. It's a very black-red ability. I don't know if it's necessarily fitting Rakdos. Sacrifice another creature. That's more Rakdos. Rakdos the Muscle gains indestructible in the turn. Tap it, activate only once each turn. So pretty fantastic protection ability on your commander. That's obviously great. And then whenever you sacrifice another creature, so you have a sack outlet on your commander. You can only activate it once each turn, but that's fine. Obviously, sacrificing stuff in red and black is super easy already. Tons of support there. So that theme is an easy build around. I'm casting my opponent's stuff from exile. There's support there as well. Obviously, black and red are doing that a bunch. I don't know how much you want to put the other stuff in. There's enough support that you could fill the deck up with that, but your commander's ability is already doing a bunch, right? So, and again, this is another ability they got to find a name for, I think, but I cast my opponent's spells and I do it with mana of any color. So whenever you sacrifice another creature, so you have to figure out ways to sacrifice creatures, but at the same time, your commander's doing it, so kind of builds around itself. Right now, I don't have to figure out other ways to sacrifice my creatures because my commander's doing it. So all I have to do is have creatures in play. You're going to exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target opponent's library. So you do want to have tokens. Aren't going to work here, right? Can't do tokens. That's not going to do nothing. If it's a token copy of an existing creature, it will, but just, I'm spitting out goblin tokens or rat tokens or something. That's not going to work here, right? We actually have to have some oomph behind the creature that we're sacrificing until your next end step. And of course, it's next end step. So you can, again, you can only activate once each turn on your commander. So you can sacrifice a creature and then do it on everyone else's turn. And then on your turn, there is a whole bunch of cards in exile that you can then go to town with if you want to. And obviously, if you just want to save your commander, right? That ability, of course, is saving your commander from a board wipe. So someone casts a board wipe, I sack a creature to save my commander. It triggers that first ability. I exile some cards from someone's library, and then on my turn, I can play them. Just good value, really. Your commander's a big scary creature as well, so you can attack with it. And then on your opponent's turns, if they try to remove it, make it indestructible, right? So obviously there is a build-aroundable stuff here. On the topic of skeletons, reassembling skeleton would be a pretty good fit here because, of course, it is repeatable sack fodder. 2 mana value is not great, but it's okay. Any of those recurring bloodghast, you're going to want to load those up in this deck. They're very easy to get back. And also the mana value is 2. So you're going to exile cards equal to its mana value. So exiling 2 cards from the top of your opponent's library, that's not bad. You're definitely going to, I wouldn't say definitely, but you're probably going to hit something that is worthwhile. You may play those cards, which means you can play lands. You can do the, I'm controlling my opponent's stuff. Like, what's that amalgam guy? The black guy who's going to make your opponents lose life or something for their creatures, that, like that kind of stuff. There's a little bit of support there for that. So you probably would do that in this deck. Ultimately, deck kind of builds itself a little bit. I would say it is a pretty definitely more interesting than the last Rakdos. That one was like, there's almost nothing to build around there. At least we have some stuff to build around. Not bad. All right, there you go. First look at some commanders from the new set, Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Pretty interesting for sure. We are definitely getting a lot of revisiting of the commanders we've seen before. We're definitely going to see some of that in this set. Next video, maybe I'll hit on some brand new legendary creatures coming out in this set. You guys let me know what you think of this set and some of these commanders coming out. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.